He is a millionaire, but she thinks he's just an ordinary IT technician. And now that very millionaire has to take orders from his new secretary. What he never expected was that the closer he got to her, the harder it became to resist his feelings. If you believe that love has the power to change people, then this story will touch your heart. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you won't miss more meaningful stories. Sophia Evans stepped into the Grand Maxwell Towers, the headquarters of Maxwell Global, feeling a mix of nerves and excitement. Her first day as an executive assistant promised to be challenging, but nothing could have prepared her for the chaos she was about to face. The moment she entered the office, she was met with pure disorder, flickering computer screens, phones ringing non-stop, and a tense atmosphere filling the space. Employees were rushing back and forth with panicked expressions while a group huddled around a central monitor glowing an ominous shade of blue, a clear sign of disaster. There was no time for hesitation. Sophia Evans's instincts for organization and problem-solving kicked in immediately. She stepped forward, arms crossed, assessing the situation. The company's system had crashed, the servers were unresponsive, and none of the IT specialists had been able to fix the issue. Day one, and everything was already a complete disaster. Just then, a tall man appeared, dressed in a perfectly tailored suit, a luxury watch on his wrist that probably cost more than her entire year's salary. He carried an air of unsettling calm, as if he was entertained by the chaos unfolding before him. Sophia Evans didn't have time to wonder who he was. Their eyes met briefly, and the composure on his face annoyed her. Without a second thought, she pointed at the malfunctioning screen and gave a firm order, "Fix this. Now." No time for pleasantries. If he was just standing there instead of running around in panic, he had to be part of the IT team. The man raised an eyebrow, slightly amused by her command, but he didn't argue. A faint smirk appeared at the corner of his lips as he stepped toward the computer, scanned the scrambled lines of code, and without hesitation pressed a single key. Like magic, the system instantly rebooted. Sophia Evans blinked in confusion. The employees held their breath for a moment before exhaling in relief. Someone quickly checked the other workstations and confirmed that everything was back to normal. Crisis averted. Oblivious to the weight of what had just happened, Sophia Evans simply nodded in approval and pointed toward another section of the office where a new issue was occurring. If he fixed this, he could surely handle the next problem too. But before the man could move, a breathless assistant burst into the room, his eyes wide with panic. He froze upon seeing the sharply dressed man and stammered, "Sir, the board is waiting for you." "Mr. Maxwell." Silence fell over the room. A sudden wave of heat rushed through Sophia Evans' body as she processed what had just been said. "Mr. Maxwell, as in Mr. Maxwell." Her gaze slowly turned back to the man standing before her, who now watched her with quiet amusement. Arms crossed, clearly enjoying the moment. Liam Maxwell, CEO of the company, the owner of everything. On her very first day, she had treated Liam Maxwell like a random IT technician, giving him orders as if he were an intern. If the ground could split open and swallow her whole, that would be significantly less humiliating than standing there under the weight of everyone's stares. Then laughter, soft at first but unmistakably genuine. Liam Maxwell was amused, which only made Sophia Evans's embarrassment worse. She opened her mouth to apologize, but before she could form a coherent sentence, he lifted a hand, stopping her. His smirk widened, and in his eyes was something unreadable, a mixture of curiosity and intrigue. "Interesting." His voice was slow, deliberate, like he was evaluating something unexpected yet entertaining. "You like giving orders? Let's see how well you take them." And without another word, he turned and walked away, leaving Sophia Evans frozen in place. The whispers started immediately. Some looked at her with pity, others with undeniable curiosity. Sophia Evans's legs felt weak. What just happened? Was he joking? Or was that a veiled warning? 1,000 worst-case scenarios ran through her mind. Would she be fired on her very first day? Would her name go down in Maxwell Global's history as the executive assistant with the shortest career, just a few hours? She rubbed her temples, trying to regain her composure. Her first day at work was quickly turning into an absolute nightmare. Still in shock, Sophia Evans quietly made her way back to her desk, avoiding her coworkers' intrigued gazes. She sank into her chair, took a deep breath, and exhaled slowly. Then a shadow fell over her. Liam Maxwell stood before her, adjusting his suit, looking directly at her. "Sophia Evans, my office, now." The command was sharp, leaving no room for debate. Sophia Evans's stomach twisted. What else could he possibly want? Hadn't this already been disastrous enough? She needed to pull herself together. Maybe she'd get a chance to apologize, to explain that this had all been a massive misunderstanding. But before she could even gather her thoughts, her phone rang. Her heart skipped a beat when she saw the name on the screen. Liam Maxwell. She swallowed hard and picked up. Sophia Evans. His voice was steady. Not cold, but also not forgiving. I expect you in my office within 10 minutes. And then he hung up. Sophia Evans closed her eyes for a moment, feeling the anxiety tighten around her. 10 minutes. Just 10 minutes to figure out how to save herself. The entire meeting passed under an unbearable weight pressing down on her shoulders. Sophia Evans was almost certain that today would be her last day at the company. Sitting at the long table in the vast conference room, she clenched her hands in her lap, trying not to be overwhelmed by Liam Maxwell's sharp gaze. He seemed to be enjoying her discomfort, a knowing smirk never leaving his lips. Meanwhile, the other executives barely hid their reactions, a mix of disdain and pity. Murmurs filled the room, charts and figures were presented, but none of it mattered to Sophia Evans. Her mind was too preoccupied with imagining how her termination would unfold. Would it be swift and humiliating? Would he make an example of her, firing her in front of everyone as a declaration that mistakes had no place at Maxwell Global? Or worse, would he simply ignore her entirely and let HR deal with her dismissal? Time stretched endlessly, each passing second thickening the suffocating atmosphere. When Liam Maxwell finally wrapped up the meeting, Sophia Evans braced herself for the inevitable. But instead of firing her, he merely tormented her with an unreadable stare throughout the entire session. She swallowed hard, rising slowly, feeling the weight of every executive's gaze following her as she left the room. Some whispered. Others sighed as if they had already predicted her fate. Sophia Evans, on the other hand, walked down the hallway feeling like she was marching toward her own execution. The elevator ride to Liam Maxwell's floor felt like an eternity. When the doors finally opened, she saw that his large glass office door was slightly ajar, as if he already knew she was coming. Taking a deep breath, Sophia Evans stepped inside and quietly shut the door behind her. Liam Maxwell was leaning against his mahogany desk, observing her like a scientist studying an intriguing experiment. "You look tense." He noted, arms crossed, a faint smirk playing on his lips. Sophia Evans frowned, irritation slowly replacing her initial fear. "With good reason. I thought I was getting fired." Liam Maxwell let out a quiet chuckle, stepping toward her slowly like a predator sizing up its prey. "Fired for what?" She blinked, confused. "I ordered you to fix the computer." "Yes, and that was the most entertaining part of my entire day." Annoyance flared in Sophia Evans's chest. So this had all just been a game to him. If he only intended to toy with her, why waste her time like this? "If you're not firing me, then why am I here?" She crossed her arms, bluntly asking the question. Her heart pounded in her chest, but Sophia Evans refused to show any sign of weakness. Liam Maxwell tilted his head slightly as if impressed by her defiance. Then without hesitation he stated, "Sophia Evans, you've been promoted." Silence blanketed the room, so absolute that Sophia Evans briefly wondered if she had heard him wrong. She blinked several times, trying to process his words. "What? You're now my personal assistant." The shock hit her like a wave. In the thousands of scenarios she had imagined, this had never been one of them. Personal assistant to the CEO. This wasn't a reward, it was a sentence. Everyone knew that Liam Maxwell was a nightmare to work for. He was demanding, unpredictable, and ruthless with mistakes. His personal assistants rarely lasted more than a month. This wasn't an opportunity. This was a test. Sophia Evans opened her mouth to protest, but Liam Maxwell raised a hand, silencing her. His gaze sharpened, his voice carrying an unmistakable challenge. "If you had the guts to order me to a computer, then you can handle real chaos." He paused, his smirk growing just a little wider before delivering his final remark. "Welcome to hell, Sophia Evans." A shiver ran down her spine. This wasn't a promotion. This wasn't an offer. This was a challenge. Liam Maxwell wanted to see how much she could endure. He wanted to test her patience, her resilience, and her ability to deal with him. He wanted to see if she would be just another assistant who quickly burned out, or the only one who could keep up with him. But what Liam Maxwell didn't know was, Sophia Evans hated losing. She took a slow, deep breath and straightened her posture. "Fine. When do I start?" Liam Maxwell's smirk deepened as if pleased with her answer. Right now. Sophia Evans walked out of his office with a mix of relief and dread. She still had her job, but her life was about to become absolute hell, and Liam Maxwell, without a doubt, was just getting started. 9:00 a.m. Sophia Evans received her first assignment as Liam Maxwell's personal assistant. No prior notice, no time to prepare. She was responsible for organizing a charity gala for the company's top investors. The most horrifying detail. The event was in 3 days. In an instant, Sophia Evans realized this wasn't just a task, it was a test. Liam Maxwell wanted to see how long she could last before she broke. Even the most seasoned event planners would struggle to execute a high-profile gala in just 3 days. But giving up wasn't an option. Determined to prove she could rise to the challenge, Sophia Evans immediately dove into work. On the first day, she focused on gathering the key details, securing the venue, finalizing contracts with vendors, creating a detailed timeline. But the deeper Sophia Evans dug, the more serious problems she uncovered. The previous team had failed to send out invitations. That meant many investors didn't even know the event was happening. The gala was fast approaching, but everything was spiraling into chaos. The band that had been booked suddenly canceled at the last minute, citing a scheduling conflict. Even worse, the head chef refused to adjust the menu, insisting that his selections were final and couldn't be modified to accommodate guests' preferences. And through all of this, Sophia Evans could feel Liam Maxwell watching her. He didn't step in. He didn't offer solutions. He just stood at a distance, patiently waiting for the moment she would break. Day 2. Things got even worse. Sophia Evans spent hours on the phone, systematically tackling each problem one by one. Missing invitations, solution. She sent out personalized digital invites using the company's database, ensuring every investor received them in time. No band solution. Sophia Evans contacted local musicians, negotiating for hours until she secured a small orchestra that was miraculously available for the event. A stubborn head chef solution. Instead of confronting him directly, Sophia Evans switched tactics. She reached out to food suppliers, securing rare, high-end ingredients that would elevate his dishes. With this offer, she finally convinced him to make a few adjustments without compromising his culinary style. By the end of the second day, Sophia Evans felt like her body was running on empty, but she couldn't stop. Late into the night, she kept going, reviewing contracts, finalizing every detail of the decor, coordinating logistics to ensure seamless guest transportation. Sleep became a luxury she couldn't afford. Her phone rang non-stop, each call bringing another problem to solve. But Sophia Evans refused to crumble under exhaustion. She knew that to win Liam Maxwell's game, she had to be faster, tougher, and more strategic than he ever expected. By the final day, Sophia Evans realized that despite everything, she had found a way to fix every issue. The gala was ready. Sophia Evans stood in front of a breathtaking scene, something that had seemed impossible just 3 days ago. The ballroom was flawlessly decorated. Lighting enhanced the elegance of the venue. Live music filled the space with harmony. Investors moved through the Hudson Grand Ballroom with satisfaction, champagne glasses in hand, while waitstaff worked with flawless precision. The buffet, now customized to guests' preferences, received endless praise. Everything ran seamlessly, as if it had been planned months in advance. Though utterly drained, Sophia Evans felt real pride seeing the results of her work. As she surveyed the space, she felt someone watching her. Liam Maxwell. He stood just a few feet away, a glass of wine in hand, analyzing her like a puzzle worth solving. There was something in his expression. Surprise, but not disappointment. The opposite. There was an unspoken acknowledgement in his gaze, something he rarely gave to anyone. Sophia Evans had impressed him. He hadn't expected her to pull this off, let alone execute it with such precision and efficiency. In that moment, Sophia Evans realized she had achieved something more valuable than just pulling off a successful event. She had earned Liam Maxwell's respect. They locked eyes, a look loaded with unspoken meanings. Liam Maxwell, always exuding unwavering confidence, looked intrigued. Sophia Evans, on the other hand, didn't back down. She knew this was only the first of many battles to come, and if it was up to her, she would win them all. Something had shifted between them, but Sophia Evans refused to let exhaustion take her down. She knew that to win Liam Maxwell's game, she had to be faster, tougher, and more strategic than he ever expected, and both of them were ready to play. Even after days of no sleep, Sophia Evans had no intention of losing. After the gala, Sophia Evans barely had time to breathe before Liam Maxwell approached with an unexpected offer. In his usual calm but authoritative manner, he invited her to dinner, just a professional gesture of appreciation. Completely drained from 3 sleepless nights, Sophia Evans hesitated. Part of her wanted to say no, go home, and collapse into bed. But another part, the part intrigued by Liam Maxwell's unpredictability, told her to accept. If he was inviting her personally, there had to be more to it than just gratitude. Reluctantly, she agreed, convincing herself it was just a meal. Nothing more. But the moment Sophia Evans stepped into the Lexington Prime, she realized she had been wrong. This wasn't just a business dinner. The Lexington Prime was one of the most exclusive restaurants in the city, the kind that required reservations months in advance. Yet when Liam Maxwell arrived, the maitre d' recognized him, immediately greeting him by name and leading them to a private table without hesitation. The staff moved around him with practiced familiarity, treating Sophia Evans with a subtle reverence, as if she were someone significant to him. And that's when it hit her. This wasn't just a casual thank you dinner. The setting, the privacy, the effortless way Liam Maxwell had arranged everything. He had done this before, but not for an assistant, for someone important. The realization sent a wave of unease through her, though she wasn't sure why. As they settled in, the usual verbal sparring between them began, but something was different. Liam Maxwell still wore his signature smirk. His remarks were still sharp. Yet there was something softer in the way he spoke to her, as if he truly enjoyed her presence, not just the challenge she presented. Sophia Evans, ever defiant, refused to lower her guard. She had quickly learned something about Liam Maxwell. He thrived on control. He pushed people to see how they would react. But tonight, something was different in the way he looked at her. Liam Maxwell leaned back slightly, fingers absent-mindedly tracing the rim of his glass. The usual calculating glint in his eyes was gone. And then for the first time, he wasn't analyzing her. Instead, he was letting her in. In a rare moment of honesty, Liam Maxwell started talking about his past. He told her about growing up in a world where trust was seen as a weakness, how he learned early on that people only stayed when they had something to gain, why he pushed people, why he tested them, because only those who didn't break were worth keeping around. Sophia Evans listened, absorbing every word. She had always assumed Liam Maxwell was impenetrable, that his arrogance was absolute. But right now he was peeling back the layers. He was showing her a side of himself that no one in the office had ever seen. She should have felt victorious. She should have enjoyed the moment, knowing she had earned his respect. But instead, Sophia Evans felt something far more dangerous than curiosity or competition. She cared, and that was the real problem. Liam Maxwell had always been a master at keeping people in their place, ensuring that no personal connections formed, that everyone stayed within the roles he assigned them. Yet tonight, even he wasn't immune to whatever was shifting between them. Just as Sophia Evans was beginning to process what was happening, fate decided to step in. From across the Lexington Prime, a familiar voice rang out, sending a sharp jolt through her stomach. She froze, turning her head slowly. And there, standing motionless with wide eyes, was a colleague from the office. The realization hit instantly. A private dinner at the Lexington Prime, one of the most luxurious restaurants in the city, where Liam Maxwell was treated like an honored guest, and she was seated right next to him. All of it together. By morning, the office would be flooded with rumors, and she, Sophia Evans, would be at the center of it. Liam Maxwell, of course, remained completely unfazed. If he noticed the situation, he didn't acknowledge it. He simply refilled his glass, his expression unreadable. But Sophia Evans knew better than anyone Liam Maxwell never did anything without a reason. The question was, had he planned this? Had he chosen this place, knowing someone would see them? Or was this truly just a casual dinner with no hidden agenda? For the first time since meeting him, Sophia Evans wasn't sure, and that uncertainty unsettled her more than any challenge Liam Maxwell had ever thrown her way. As they left the Lexington Prime, Sophia Evans could feel Liam Maxwell's presence beside her. The air between them had shifted. It was no longer just a battle of wills. It was something deeper, something neither of them was ready to name. Sophia Evans told herself it was just dinner, just another mind game in their never-ending war. But as she stole one last glance at Liam Maxwell before stepping into her cab, she knew one thing for certain. Something had changed. and there was no going back. The next morning, the office was buzzing, and Sophia Evans was at the center of it all. Dinner with Liam Maxwell had ignited a wildfire of speculation. Some claimed she was the CEO's newest conquest. Others insisted she was using him to climb the corporate ladder. The most infuriating part, Liam Maxwell, just as always, was completely indifferent. If he knew about the rumors, and of course he did, he made no effort to confirm or deny them. He carried on as usual, issuing impossible tasks, pushing her limits, watching with that infuriating smirk as she rose to each challenge. But beneath it all, Sophia Evans couldn't shake the question that haunted her. Was she really just another assistant in a long, endless line, or was she simply another piece in his power game? That thought bothered her far more than the office gossip. And the tension only escalated when an upcoming corporate event brought her face-to-face with Michael Vance, one of the most powerful investors in Maxwell Global, and Liam Maxwell's greatest rival. Michael Vance was known for three things: sharp intelligence, strategic thinking, and a dangerously smooth charm. If Liam Maxwell was cold and enigmatic, Michael Vance was controlled, deliberate, and never wasted an opportunity. And the moment Sophia Evans stepped into the event, she could feel his eyes on her. It didn't take him long to make his move. The second Sophia Evans found herself momentarily alone, Michael Vance approached. He moved with easy confidence, a whiskey glass swirling lazily in his hand. His smile was pleasant, but beneath it there was something calculated, something predatory. Sophia Evans immediately went on guard. Michael Vance wasted no time. He had been watching her, and he was impressed. He knew how demanding Liam Maxwell was, how brutal he could be with his assistants. Most didn't last long, but Sophia Evans hadn't just survived, she had thrived, and that made her valuable. Leaning in slightly, his voice smooth and deliberate, he dropped the real reason he had sought her out. He wanted her to leave Maxwell Global and work for him instead. There were no impossible tasks, no mind games, no constant scrutiny from Liam Maxwell. With Sophia Evans' intelligence and skill, she could have a real future under Michael Vance's leadership, instead of just being another pawn in Liam Maxwell's world. Sophia Evans' heart pounded, not just from the boldness of the offer, but because of the way Michael Vance said it. He was planting doubt, reminding her of all the unanswered questions about Liam Maxwell, all the moments she wasn't sure if she meant anything to him. Michael Vance's voice was smooth as silk. You know, Liam Maxwell has gone through countless assistants before you. None of them lasted long. They were all discarded the moment they were no longer useful. So what made her think she was any different? The question hit Sophia Evans like a punch. Had she been fooling herself this whole time? Was she just another disposable piece in Liam Maxwell's game? But before she could fully process her own doubts, a sudden shift in the air made her shiver. A presence loomed behind her, one she recognized instantly. Liam Maxwell. He had heard everything. He stood there, his posture relaxed, his expression unreadable. But in his eyes there was something dangerous, an unspoken warning Sophia Evans picked up on immediately. The tension between the three of them crackled like electricity. Sophia Evans was caught between two opposing forces, each dangerous in their own way. Liam Maxwell's voice was deceptively calm when he finally spoke, each word measured but razor-sharp underneath. He turned his focus to Michael Vance, not hesitating to call him out for trying to steal his personnel. "I didn't realize you'd taken an interest in recruiting my employees, Vance." The words "my employees" made Sophia Evans' stomach tighten. So that was all she was to him. Just another part of his team, someone he didn't want to lose. Not because she meant anything to him, but because she was useful. Or was there something more? Michael Vance, of course, didn't back down. He met Liam Maxwell's stare with an easy smirk, as if this was just another game he had played many times before. "Loyalty has its limits, Maxwell. Are you sure you're not underestimating Sophia Evans?" The words cut deeper than Sophia Evans wanted to admit. Was Michael Vance right, Liam? Maxwell had never given her a reason to believe she was anything more than just an assistant. No matter how much tension lingered between them, he had never admitted to it, never once told her she meant something to him. And now, with Michael Vance standing here voicing every buried doubt she had ever had, Sophia Evans couldn't help but wonder, was she just a temporary distraction to Liam Maxwell? Was she waiting for something that would never come? The silence between them was suffocating. Liam Maxwell didn't respond to Michael Vance's provocation. He didn't argue. He didn't deny it. Instead, he just looked at Sophia Evans. like he was waiting for her reaction. And for the first time, Sophia Evans wasn't sure what she would do. Sophia Evans had never been the type to hesitate. Since the moment she stepped into Maxwell Global, she had taken on every challenge head-on, never backed down no matter how difficult it was. But after her conversation with Michael Vance, something terrifying had crept in doubt, and it was growing louder with every passing second. Had she been fooling herself? Did she really believe she was any different from all the assistants before her? Or was she just another piece Liam Maxwell could easily replace? Every moment she had shared with Liam Maxwell, the unreadable glances, the unspoken tension, the quiet but undeniable respect. Suddenly, it all felt fragile, like it had never been real at all. And the worst part, Liam Maxwell did nothing to reassure her. In the days following the encounter, Liam Maxwell became distant. Not cold, but careful. Too careful. He no longer teased her, no longer tested her patience just to see her reaction, no longer pushed her into impossible situations to watch her fight her way out, as if he sensed the shift in her. And instead of addressing it, he chose to pull away. It only made things worse. Every time Sophia Evans looked at him, she wanted to scream. She wanted to force him to admit something, to make him face what was happening between them, to break through his carefully controlled exterior. But Liam Maxwell was a master of control. And if there was one thing he never did, Liam Maxwell never let his emotions show. But the tension between them finally reached a breaking point. Late one night, when they were the only two left in his office, the air was thick with everything unsaid, the weight of it pressing down on them both. Sophia Evans, unable to hold it in any longer, broke the silence. Her voice was steady, but inside she was unraveling, and she asked the question that had haunted her since Michael Vance planted that seed of doubt in her mind. If I walked away from this company tomorrow, would it make any difference to you? She needed an answer. She needed the truth. For the first time since she had met him, Sophia Evans saw Liam Maxwell hesitate, just for a fraction of a second, a brief, almost imperceptible pause. But it was enough to make her stomach drop, enough to snap the last thread of trust she had in him. If she meant anything to him, anything at all, he would have answered without hesitation. He would have reassured her, given her a reason to stay. But instead, he hesitated, and that silence was more brutal than any words he could have spoken. Sophia Evans felt the weight of disappointment settle in her chest. She had been a fool. Foolish to believe she was different. Foolish to think she had broken through the impenetrable walls Liam Maxwell had built around his heart. But in the end, she was just another assistant, another employee, another piece in the flawless world he had constructed for himself. And Sophia Evans refused to be the kind of woman who waited around for a man too afraid to admit how he felt. The next morning, Sophia Evans arrived at the office earlier than usual, a sealed envelope in her hand, her resignation letter, somehow heavier than the piece of paper inside. She never thought it would come to this. She walked past her desk, past familiar faces, past the colleagues who had once watched her with curiosity as she navigated Liam Maxwell's impossible demands. She walked past everything straight to his office. Liam Maxwell was already there, as if he had been expecting her. Sophia Evans didn't hesitate. She placed the envelope on his desk, her fingers steady despite the storm raging inside her. Liam Maxwell looked at it, but he didn't reach for it. Instead, he looked at her, his face unreadable as always. But in his eyes, a flicker of regret. A glimpse of something like disappointment. For the briefest moment, Sophia Evans thought he might stop her, that he might say something, that he might break the silence she had waited far too long to be shattered. But instead, if that's your choice, I won't stop you. That was it. No argument. No last-minute effort to make her stay. No indication that this decision meant anything to him at all. And that was the final confirmation Sophia Evans needed. She had prepared herself for many reactions: anger, shock, even mockery. But not this. Not quiet acceptance. Not this empty, emotionless acknowledgement. She turned and walked away, her steps steady, even as her heart fractured with every step she took away from him. She walked out of Maxwell Towers believing this would be the last time. But something felt wrong. Not just the weight pressing against her chest. Not just the lingering sense of loss. Something deeper. A feeling that this wasn't truly over. That the hesitation she had seen in Liam Maxwell's eyes might have meant something, even if she didn't understand what. And as she disappeared into the crowded streets, Sophia Evans knew no matter how much distance she put between them, this story wasn't over yet. Liam Maxwell was a man of discipline, of control, of absolute certainty. He built his empire on calculated risks, precision, and unwavering logic, never letting emotions interfere. But from the moment Sophia Evans walked out, leaving nothing behind but a resignation letter, everything changed. At first he told himself it didn't matter. People left companies all the time, assistants came and went. He had gone through dozens before her. It shouldn't matter. But it did. The office felt different. Meetings ran as usual. Deadlines were met. The company continued to function with its trademark efficiency. But there was a tension hanging over Maxwell Global like an unspoken truth no one dared to address. Liam Maxwell himself had changed. He was colder, more impatient. His temper flared faster. He snapped at executives over minor mistakes, dismissed proposals before even hearing them out, buried himself in work with an intensity that was almost self-destructive. No one dared to ask about Sophia Evans, but the silence surrounding her was louder than a scream. Michael Vance, a man known for his sharp instincts and opportunistic nature, noticed the shift immediately. He never expected Sophia Evans to walk away so easily, but what surprised him even more was Liam Maxwell losing control without her there. For the first time, Michael Vance saw something he had never seen before. Liam Maxwell had been shaken, and that meant opportunity. The more Liam Maxwell pushed people away, the more Michael Vance saw his opening to pull Sophia Evans in. He extended an offer, a higher salary, a more prestigious position, and most importantly, no exhausting mind games with Liam Maxwell. All Sophia Evans had to do was take one step. On paper, it was the perfect decision. Higher pay, a better title, no more power struggles with Liam Maxwell. So why did it feel wrong every time she looked at the contract? Was she taking this job because she truly wanted it, or just to prove a point, to prove she was more than just an assistant, to prove she had options, to prove to Liam Maxwell that she wasn't waiting around for him to realize what she meant to him? But was that really moving forward, or was she just running? Meanwhile, Liam Maxwell was stuck in unfamiliar territory. Regret. His entire life, he had lived by one rule: keep your distance, never let anyone close enough to hurt you. But Sophia Evans was the exception. She was the anomaly he hadn't accounted for. The only one who had ever challenged him, who never wavered, never broke, even when everyone else had walked away. And now that she was gone, he finally understood. He hadn't just lost an assistant. He had lost the one person who made him feel necessary. He needed her. And for the first time in his life, he had no idea how to fix it. The strategies that had always secured his victories. Useless. He couldn't throw money at the problem. Sophia Evans wasn't driven by wealth. He couldn't use power to force her back. She had already walked away without hesitation. Worst of all, he didn't even know what to say. What was he supposed to tell her? That he missed her? That he regretted letting her go? That he had hesitated? Not because she didn't matter, but because she mattered too much. The words felt foreign. Impossible. Liam Maxwell didn't chase after people. People came to him, not the other way around. But this time Sophia Evans had left, and she wasn't coming back. Unless he gave her a reason. She told herself she was fine, that she had made the right choice, that she didn't think about Liam Maxwell anymore, that she didn't care about the moment of hesitation that had shattered her trust in him. But the more she tried to push it away, the clearer it became, because deep down she knew the truth. It was never about the job. It was never about Maxwell Global. It was about him. She didn't need a career move. She needed certainty. She needed to know she had meant something, that she wasn't just another name on the long list of assistants Liam Maxwell had cycled through over the years. And until she had that answer, no job offer, no opportunity would change a thing. For his entire life, he had ensured that no one could shake him. He had built his empire on calculated risks, on precise moves, on an unshakable ability to control everything around him. And yet now, staring at the email confirming Sophia Evans still hadn't signed Michael Vance's contract, he felt something unfamiliar: hope. For days he had convinced himself that it was over, that Sophia Evans had moved on, that she had made her choice. But now he knew the truth. She hadn't chosen yet. And if there was still a choice to be made, he still had a chance, and he wasn't going to waste it. The second he realized what needed to be done, All hesitation disappeared. Liam Maxwell was not a man who hesitated, and he sure as hell wasn't about to start now. He grabbed his coat, stormed out of his office, ignoring the stunned expressions of his employees, with the kind of determination that turned tides. For the first time in his life, Liam Maxwell was about to fight for something without knowing the outcome, and that terrified him more than any business deal ever had. By the time Liam Maxwell stepped into the investors' meeting, the event was already in full swing. Michael Vance stood at the center of the room, his signature sharp smirk in place. He was introducing Sophia Evans to a crowd of powerful executives. She stood beside him, poised, unreadable, dressed in confidence. But there was something uncertain in her eyes. She looked every bit like a woman in control. And yet, something was off. Liam Maxwell didn't hesitate. He walked straight into the room, his presence an undeniable force that silenced conversations mid-sentence. Every head turned. Michael Vance, of course, was unfazed. If anything, he looked amused. Well, well, his voice carried easily over the stunned silence. If it isn't Liam Maxwell himself, to what do we owe the honor? Didn't acknowledge the stares, didn't care about the whispers spreading like wildfire. He had eyes for only one person, Sophia Evans. She stared back at him, frozen in place, as if she couldn't decide whether to be furious or relieved. Liam Maxwell knew he had no right to be here, that in her eyes this could look like another power move, another calculated strategy. But this time, for the first time in his life, he wasn't thinking about strategy. I need to talk to you. His voice was lower than usual, rough with something unguarded, waiting for the inevitable collision. Michael Vance, ever the showman, let out a quiet chuckle. You're a little late, Maxwell. He tilted his head toward Sophia Evans. She's already made her decision. Instead, he exhaled sharply, letting go of every last ounce of his pride. He had spent too long hiding behind arrogance, too long convincing himself that distance was safer. But safe had never gotten him anywhere with Sophia Evans. For the first time in his life, Liam Maxwell was fighting without a perfect plan. His voice when he spoke was raw, uncompromising. If you go with him, I won't stop you. His gaze never wavered. If that's what you want, I'll accept it. But before you decide, there's something you need to know. Sophia Evans's breath caught. Her fingers curled at her sides, pulse hammering. Liam Maxwell stepped forward. His voice was rough, strained with emotion he had fought too long to suppress. You were never just my assistant. Never. Liam Maxwell's voice was raw, stripped of its usual control. You're the only person who's ever made me feel like I wasn't in control. And I need that. I need you. The words hung in the air, heavier than any business deal, more valuable than any contract. Liam Maxwell. The man who never yielded, never admitted weakness, had just laid himself bare before an entire room of people. For the first time in his life, he was vulnerable, and Sophia Evans held all the power. Michael Vance, ever the strategist, leaned in slightly, his voice just loud enough for Sophia Evans to hear. And now you're going to choose the man who never had the courage to say this before? The weight of the moment pressed down on her. The room faded away. There was only Liam Maxwell standing there, exposed, waiting for her answer. She could still walk away. Still take Michael Vance's offer. Step into a world of certainty, free of risk, free of tangled emotions. Free of Liam Maxwell. But was that really what she wanted? No. Looking at Liam Maxwell, the man who had challenged her, frustrated her, changed her, she realized something with absolute clarity. She didn't want certainty. She wanted him. Sophia Evans left without giving an answer. Her mind was a storm too chaotic to process all at once. For weeks, she had been questioning where she stood with Liam Maxwell. Now, for the first time, the question no longer mattered, because she already knew the answer. I need you. 3 words, looping endlessly in her mind like a song without an end. Liam Maxwell, the man who had never admitted weakness, never let emotions interfere with his decisions, had torn down every defense he had just to tell her something she never expected to hear. But could she trust him? Could she trust herself enough to accept it? She walked through the city, her thoughts tangled in a way that no logic could untangle. Liam Maxwell had never lost control. He had built his success on precision, on always knowing his next move before anyone else even suspected the game was being played. He never waited. He never allowed himself to be put in a position where he didn't have the upper hand. and yet now for the first time he had no control. Sophia Evans had walked out without an answer, and the uncertainty was killing him. He had spent too long pushing her away, too long convincing himself that emotions didn't matter. But now sitting alone in his office, staring at the space where she should have been. The truth was undeniable. She wasn't a distraction. She was everything. And so Liam Maxwell did something he had never done before. He placed a bet, not for business, not for power, for her. That night he sent Sophia Evans a message. Meet me on the rooftop one last time. Short, direct, unlike him in every way. He had no idea if she would come. He had given her every reason to walk away, every reason to believe he would never change. But if there was even the smallest chance, he had to take it. She stared at the message. She had told herself she was done with this, that she needed space, that she needed time. But the truth was, from the moment she left that room, she hadn't thought about anything but him. Every memory, every argument, every challenge he had thrown at her. Nothing had ever been easy between them. But maybe that was the point. Maybe what they had was never meant to be easy. Maybe it was meant to be real. And that realization was what made her step into the elevator and press the button for the rooftop. When the elevator doors opened, the cold night air rushed against her skin. Below, the city stretched out in a sea of lights. And at the center of it all, Liam Maxwell. He stood near the edge of the rooftop. Not his usual composed self, not the untouchable CEO everyone feared. Instead, he was something else, something raw, something unsteady. For the first time, Liam Maxwell looked nervous, and that unsettled Sophia Evans more than anything. At the sound of her footsteps, he turned, his eyes locked onto hers, intense in a way that sent a shiver down her spine. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then finally, Liam Maxwell exhaled, running a hand through his hair. "I spent too much time testing you," he said, his voice lower than usual, "and I never realized I was the one being tested." His tone was rough-edged with something unfamiliar. "And I failed." Sophia Evans's breath hitched. Liam Maxwell took a slow step forward, closing the distance between them. "I thought control was the only way to survive," he admitted. "That if I let someone in, if I let you in," his voice faltered, "I would lose myself." He stopped, unable to go on. His hands were steady, but his voice was unrecognizable. Liam Maxwell, the man who had spent his life building walls, who had mastered control in every aspect of his existence, was shaking. He exhaled, shaking his head slightly, frustration flickering across his face. But underneath that frustration there was something else, something fragile, something raw. "I was wrong. Because when you walked away, that's when I really lost everything." The words sliced through Sophia Evans's defenses like a blade. This wasn't a game. This wasn't another test. This wasn't a calculated move. This was Liam Maxwell standing before her, stripped of every shield he had ever built. No power, no control, no arrogance, only truth. And before she could say anything, before she could even breathe, he dropped to one knee. Liam Maxwell, the man who had built an empire on never yielding, the man who had made her fight for every inch of his attention, the man who had hesitated when she needed him to speak. Now he was kneeling before her, not in submission, not in defeat, but in surrender. The kind of surrender that had nothing to do with weakness and everything to do with love. His voice was steady now, certain in a way he had never been before. "I want you as my equal, as my partner, as my future." A sharp breath caught in Sophia Evans's throat. She could feel the weight of his words sinking into her chest deeper than anything she had ever prepared for. Liam Maxwell took a slow breath, then let out a soft, almost helpless laugh. "Marry me, Sophia Evans." It wasn't a question. It wasn't a plea. It was a declaration. A breathless laugh escaped her lips, somewhere between disbelief and overwhelming emotion. Her hands trembled as she covered her face, caught between wanting to laugh and wanting to cry. Because of course he would do this in the most unexpected, most dramatic way possible. Liam Maxwell, the man who had never let anyone close, was finally letting her in, completely. And this time, she didn't hesitate. She stepped forward, tilted his chin up until his eyes met hers, and with every ounce of certainty she had once doubted, she chose him. The day arrived with an air of anticipation. Sophia Evans couldn't quite put into words. Of course, the event itself was extravagant. Liam Maxwell never did anything halfway. The venue was the Bellevue Estate, a breathtaking estate overlooking the city skyline. Towering floral arrangements, candlelit pathways, a guest list filled with some of the most powerful figures in the business world. And yet, despite the grandeur, there was an undeniable intimacy woven through every detail. Because this wasn't just a display of wealth, it was their story. A wedding not built on perfection but on the chaos and contradictions that had brought them together. Sophia Evans stood in front of the mirror, smoothing the delicate lace of her dress. Her reflection stared back at her, a mixture of excitement and disbelief. If someone had told her months ago that she would be marrying Liam Maxwell, the same man who had once been the bane of her existence, she would have laughed in their face. And yet, here she was, not walking into a fairy tale ending, but walking toward a choice. She chose him, and he chose her, not just today, but every day after, through every battle, every triumph, every impossible moment in between. She wasn't afraid, she was sure. Liam Maxwell stood at the altar adjusting the cufflinks on his tailored suit. The guests were all seated. The music had started. But none of it mattered, only her. The woman who had turned his carefully structured world upside down, who had walked away when he hesitated, who had become the one thing he couldn't live without. And now she was walking toward him, her eyes locked onto his, still carrying that same unwavering fire that had drawn him in from the very beginning. For the first time in his life, Liam Maxwell wasn't the one in control, and he had never been more certain of anything. When it was time for the vows, Sophia Evans took a steady breath, a teasing glint already forming in her eyes. She glanced at Liam Maxwell, who was watching her with that signature smirk. "I vow to stand beside you, to challenge you when you need it, and to never ever ask you to fix a computer again." Laughter rippled through the crowd, but the warmth in her voice was unmistakable. "But more than anything, I vow to trust you, even when you frustrate me, to remind you that not everything needs to be controlled, and to never let you forget that you, Liam Maxwell, are not nearly as invincible as you think." Liam Maxwell let out a quiet chuckle, shaking his head slightly before taking her hand. His expression softened in a way that only Sophia Evans ever got to see. "I vow to challenge you." His voice was low but firm. "To never let you settle, because you deserve more than comfort. You deserve greatness. I vow to push you the same way you push me, because I never want to be the man I was before you walked into my office and turned my life upside down." His smirk returned, teasing but sincere. "But most of all, I vow to never doubt you again." The final vow left his lips, not a shallow promise, not an empty declaration, but an undeniable truth he had just given her, a part of himself, completely. Sophia Evans felt her throat tighten, the heat of unshed tears burning behind her eyes. Because she knew, he meant every word. No more walls, no more strategy, no more control. Only him. Only them. The night unfolded the way only their wedding could. Equal parts grandeur and unpredictability. Billionaire moguls and business tycoons mingled with Sophia Evans's closest friends. Polished conversations were interrupted by bursts of laughter and sharp-witted banter. Two worlds that had once seemed impossible to merge, now fitting together as if they had always belonged, just like them. As they swayed together under the warm glow of chandeliers, Sophia Evans leaned in her eyes, sparkling with mischief. "So, does this mean I'm officially your personal assistant forever?" Her fingers traced the lapel of his suit, teasing. Liam Maxwell's smirk was slow, knowing, a look that never failed to make her heart skip a beat. But this time, there was something softer behind it, something unspoken, something real. "No," he murmured. He leaned in, his breath warm against her ear, his voice deep and low. "Now, I'm yours." And just like that, Sophia Evans knew. This wasn't an ending. This was the beginning of everything. Sophia Evans and Liam Maxwell's love story wasn't a perfect fairy tale. It was a journey of challenges, choices, and moments where they almost lost each other. But in the end, they chose each other not because of fate, but because they were willing to fight for what truly mattered. What do you think about this story? If you were Sophia Evans, would you risk everything to believe in Liam Maxwell's love? And if you were Liam Maxwell, would you have the courage to break all your own rules just to hold on to the one person who truly mattered? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your perspective is what makes every story special. Thank you for supporting the channel. The stories are collected from various sources and do not represent any individual or organization. They are shared with the intention of spreading human values in life and have been rewritten with the support of AI. If there are any mistakes, kindly overlook them with understanding. Wishing you all the best in life.